In this video, we will be taking a deep dive into the new Announcement Builder tool. The Announcement Builder is a tool that allows you to build and edit pop-ups to your required specification without having to contact DealerSpike. To access this new tool, first you'll need to navigate to your website admin panel, like so. Next, click on the Content tab in the navigation bar. You should see the Announcement Builder option in the dropdown that appears. If you do not have the Content tab in your navigation bar, or if you do not see the Announcement Builder option, you will need to reach out to technical support. Go ahead and click on it. You won't see much when you first open up the Announcement Builder. In the future, here is where you'll see existing announcements that you and your company has built. For now, let's go ahead and create a new one. Move your mouse over the top right of your screen, click on the New Announcement button. You are now editing your first announcement. Let's go through this form line by line and I'll tell you what everything means. At the top of the announcement, you'll see that there is a hotbar that contains a selection of information about the given announcement, such as the status, start date, and end date. To the right, you'll see that there is a discard button and a collapse button. Discard button is self-explanatory. It will discard any of your most recent changes that you have not saved. The collapse button closes the announcement like a card. This is good when you have a bunch of announcements in a row and you need to see all of them at once, just to get a glimpse of all the information. For now, go ahead and click on Edit. Below the announcement hotbar, we have the announcement title and the two buttons on the right for Preview and Save Changes. For these two buttons, they're not going to do much right now, so let's put a pin on that and come back to it at a later time. Below that, we have the Enable and Disable. When an announcement is enabled, it will appear for your users of your website only once, and then will not appear again on subsequent pages. An announcement can technically be enabled, but may not appear on your site. That is due to the times that you have set on your announcement, which leads us to the next section, the start and end date. The start and end dates control the day in which your modal will start to appear for your customers and when it will stop. A typical usage for these fields is if you have an event at your dealership coming up. You can work on the announcement ahead of time and you can automatically have the announcement pop up later. You can then have the announcement automatically come down after the event has passed. The date fields use plain text, which can be a bit cumbersome to write out, so our dev team have included a calendar widget. It will show up in either field as soon as you click on it. This allows you to select a date manually like this, much faster and much more efficient. So for just this example, let's say that I want to start this announcement on January 13th, which is today, and the end date next Monday, which should be January 17th. As expected, the announcement will show up starting today, as of right now, and end Monday morning. Moving on, the next section is the announcement name. This is the first required field. This section doesn't affect the content and doesn't display to your users. Its current use is you can differentiate between any of the existing announcements. We recommend having a clear and concise title that reflects what the announcement entails. And now we are moving on to the content portion of the announcement. Right under the announcement name, there is a row of buttons that control the type of content you want to display on the announcement. There are three types of content supported: text content, image content, and template content. All of the selections have similar and their own distinct fields you can edit. Text content is enabled by default. If you click on any of the non-selected options, the selected option will be deselected. For the time being, let's focus on the text content portion. Most of the fields in the text content section use a "what you see is what you get" rich text editor. What that means is the end result of the announcement you create is going to look exactly like the data that you enter in the following fields. These fields give you options to style your content, such as font color changes, bold and italicized fonts, and changing the alignment of a text. The first field in the text content portion we're going to edit is the heading. This is the main title of your announcement and is going to be the most prominent text displayed to your customers. Since this is the largest text and isn't meant to display a lot of text, there is a limit of 120 characters, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner of the edit. For the time being, we're just going to put in the heading, Boo. The heading and the announcement name are the only fields required for you to save and preview an announcement. So for announcement name, I'm going to put, this is a test announcement. We can hit save changes. There we go. And now we can hit preview. Boo. The second field in the text content portion is the subheading. This is exactly like the heading field, except that it's not required, and it's going to be less prominent. If you add something like, come to our Halloween event, and we were to save and preview the changes, we can see that we have the heading and subheading fields. Scrolling down to the next field is the content field. This field has some similarities to the heading and subheading field, but it has a few more tools at your disposal. It has an increased capacity of characters that it can hold, which you can see at the bottom right hand corner is 2,500 characters. It has added features including a numbered and an unordered list, alignment options, horizontal line. You can add a hyperlink, and it also has some basic revision tracking. A note on the revision tracking, it does not persist across sessions. What that means is if you were to refresh the page or leave the page and come back to it at a later time, your revisions will not be saved. So if we were to type something like, this is a test revision, we can hit the undo button and it will start retracting the text that we just typed in and redo those. But if we were to save it and refresh the page and go to that test announcement, we won't have the opportunity to go back and undo those changes. Moving on to the bottom of the page, you'll see the header image section. This widget will allow you to select an image off of your machine and crop it to meet the desired 800 by 200 aspect ratio. We have a similar widget on the slideshow tool where you can crop images, but the one that we use here is a little bit easier to use. Let's start by selecting a random image off of my machine. Once the image uploads, a pop-up will appear. It will display the image you've uploaded with a box in front of the image, like so. Below the first image contains a second image, which is just a cropped version of the image above. The box in the first image is the final result you want the image to be. Anything that is not in the box will be cropped out of the final result. With this box, you can shrink it, you can expand it, and move it all around the image till you get the desired picture that you want. To move the box around the image, just click and drag it and you can move it around. Note that you cannot change the aspect ratio. It's always going to keep the same 800 by 200 dimension. Once you're satisfied with the crop, go ahead and do this. Go ahead and click on the Save button. There you go. A new field will appear under the image, labeled Header Image Alt Text. Screen readers use this as a way to understand the contents of your image. It's also used to describe the image in the event that the image fails to load. We suggest that you add content here that describes the image you just added. Perfect. Now that you have the header image information, you should be able to save the announcement and see the changes. Perfect. That's the last of the text content. Let's run through the image content real quickly. You can change to the image content by going up to the very top and clicking on the image content selector. When you have the image content enabled, the only field that is added is the content image selection. This is almost exactly the same as the header image widget. It allows you to add an image and crop it to fit the announcement. The only difference on this section is that it has a recommended ratio of 800 by 400, as so. Same thing with the header image. The content image also adds an alt text section. We'd recommend that you create a text describing the image. Perfect. That's it for the image content section. Now let's go over the template content section. You can select the template content section by clicking on the template selection right here. The template content section only contains one field, template. A template is an existing announcement built from support that you can select from. You can see the selection you have available to you when you click on Browse. You can see that each selection has a title and a thumbnail. Something to keep in mind is that the thumbnail does not reflect the content of the template, it's purely used just to help differentiate between the templates you have available for you. For this example, we have 4 existing templates to choose from. I created the edited template example here. It just contains some basic text. If we were to select it and hit save changes again, we should be able to preview it. And there we go. That should be it for the announcement builder. If you have any issues with it, or if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the Dealer Spike Technical Support Department. Thank you.